He's back again. He steps on. He's hit. He stumbles. He is throwing it deep for the end zone, and it is batted around and incomplete. And the game is over.
Ooh, had the back door. Oh, Simmons threw it in reverse. Oh my God! Deep to right field, way up there and way out of here. Second and one. Here's Hughes giving it across. Oh, what a save! Made by Blair on hold. Oh my goodness.
Welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast, presented to you by Hungry Dog Sports Blog. It is up, as we said in the last pod. Go check out the link in the description. I mean, we're trying to get as much content out there as we can, so yeah, go check it out. But here with me, as always, you know who it is. Ethan, how we doing today? This is a big night.
Yeah. I mean, NBA is fine. I mean, I did enjoy watching some of the exhibition games, but these actually matter. They're actually
Exactly.
there were two extremely both these games were decided by 2 points. So
Exactly.
I
Just to have
was
real basketball.
yeah. I mean, we'll get into it later, but I was actually really impressed with the Clippers without Lou Will and Montrez. I mean, I still have some confidence in them, but
I was too, and I think that's our first point. I mean, we're looking at this 9:00 game, the return of the NBA, Lakers Clippers. This is all you could have asked for, and both teams went out on that court, and I think they delivered.
Mhm.
I mean, for both teams, we look at the numbers. Dwight Howard was not strong. J.R. Smith was not strong. The Clippers were missing Montrez and Lou Will. These are big bench weapons. What we saw last night was the stars coming out with Kawhi and Paul George and LeBron James and especially Anthony Davis, which we'll get into. And really, I mean, it was amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, just to see great basketball being played again it was something else.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess I'll just get into my my little tangent. I mean, I know I said at some point in this podcast, a few episodes ago, that I wasn't totally impressed with Paul George. I know you said it was credit to injury, but
Nope.
I don't know. It seemed for a second that Oklahoma City was kind of winning that trade because I mean, I expected them to be terrible, and now they're 6, 7 seed, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's still a situation in which I think they win that trade. And I think there is a case to be made that, I mean, it's great for both sides because, I mean, you got Shea on OKC, you got Gallinari. Shea, I think, is going to be a superstar in 2 years, to be honest. I think the development and especially the step he took, I would have given him not quite, we'll get into Ingram later, but a most improved player vote because he was definitely one of those guys. But they have all those picks, man. I mean, there's definitely something they can do.
All those picks the mid-20s that will mean nothing.
A lot of guys have been good guys selected in the mid-20s. Never know. Bam.
Yeah, there could be the next Siakam, who knows. So, yeah, going back to Paul George, 30 points, and I think that last shot before the Clippers choked on defense was insane. I mean, you can't complain about the defense. It wasn't great, and he had 5 turnovers, but I mean, he stepped up, and that's what it's a shorthanded team that should be competing, but I don't know.
LeBron is on a mission. I think that is another main takeaway from that game that we saw last night. And I think Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined gave LeBron, was he still great in those final minutes? Yes. But that was a tough game for LeBron. Yeah. And I think Anthony Davis needed to step up. And he did.
Mhm.
But, I mean, back to Paul George, I mean, yeah, you can look at those errors defensively, but there's an argument to be made that, I mean, that last play, you look at it,
Mhm.
that last missed shot, had Kawhi Leonard, if you watch it again, not been held as he tried to pass the ball, which, there's going to be bad calls. There's going to be people who get away with stuff like that. That's just how the NBA works. I'm sure there were 100 missed calls on the Clippers as well. That's just how it is. But had he not been held, I think Paul George would have made that shot with the way he'd been playing last night. And so there's a serious situation where the Clippers win that game, again, without Montrezl Harrell, who could have been made an argument for as an all-star, and Lou Williams, who's one of their main scoring options and really opens up the floor for them.
Mhm.
You got to look at, even though the Lakers won, you got to look at it great on both sides.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, we should go back to the Lakers now because I mean, they are probably the most top-heavy team in the league. Let's be real.
Oh, definitely.
It's AD, LeBron, and then everybody else. I mean, there were some flashes in the exhibition games, but I'm surprised Kyle Kuzma was actually decent because in the event that they thinking that they would rather give up Brandon Ingram than Kyle Kuzma is so wild to me. But
exactly.
He was good. He had 16 points, 4 for 7 from 3.
He was solid. I mean, Kyle Kuzma is definitely one of the most overrated players in the NBA.
For sure.
I mean, just because he plays in that LA market and he had that which was a really good year as a rookie alongside Lonzo Ball. I mean, there was a lot of hype that goes into him, but he is a solid enough six-man. I mean, and Dwight Howard, I think, as well, even though he didn't perform last night, that's another guy that can really get to the Clippers because at Anthony Davis, these big guys, it's with the guys like Marcus Morris and Zubac who have performed horribly in this series throughout the entire season. It's been terrible to watch, to be honest. They have the potential to just eat up the Clippers in the paint.
Yeah.
And that's how they won this game, and that's honestly how I think they can win this series. I think it's going to be on Anthony Davis to perform, and he's done it in the playoffs before. So I would say I'm definitely more optimistic on the Lakers than I was coming out of this game. Just as I think I'm more optimistic on the Clippers too. It's really a win for both sides, even though it was the Lakers who won this game.
Yeah. And, I mean, I said this before we recorded, but if Montrezl Harrell was in that last possession, that was just a total defensive breakdown for the Clippers. I don't think LeBron would have gotten that shot off, to be honest, because the fact that he toppled over like 10 Clippers to get that layup is absurd, but
exactly. I mean, they were all in the paint. There were three
I won't discredit LeBron at all. Like he probably might have been able to get that over Harrell or like we need to talk about how I think it was about a minute before that I think it was either to tie the game or take the lead. They had Jermichael Green on LeBron instead of compared to the one of the best two-way players in like the last
defensive player of the year. Yeah,
the last like 20 years, but
yeah, I don't know. I think Kawhi definitely can shut down LeBron. It comes down to that Anthony Davis matchup. And guys like Marcus Morris are not going to do it, who was awful. He could not shoot the ball. He could not play defense. I loved that trade at the trade deadline. I did. I thought it gave them depth and shooting on the outside even more. It was like adding like more gold to the rich man. That's what it was. But it's just not working out. And if you're going to be starting him, you expect production, and it's just not coming.
Okay. So, I guess we'll move on to the game before that. The Utah Jazz against the Pelicans, which going into it, I'm like, this should be an easy win for the Pelicans. And it was for about I thought I wouldn't say it would be an easy win, but I thought it would be a it wouldn't be as close as I thought it would be. But
Yeah.
for about 90% of the game, the Pelicans were leading, and then they took out Zion, and then everybody knows what happened. And then
Exactly.
I have no idea what was going through Alvin Gentry's head, but
No, I talked to you about this before. I mean, you could have at least put Zion Williamson in the last 2 minutes to play defense and to serve as a decoy, because we all know Brandon Ingram's going to take that shot.
yeah.
But to serve as a decoy on that last play, just somebody you have to guard. Because do you really think you have to guard Nicola Melli on the last play?
I don't think so.
I don't think that works. So, I mean, it definitely hurt them. And, this is a Pelicans team that is going to have to fight for that 8th seed. And if I'm the Grizzlies or I'm the Trailblazers right now, I'm looking up here and I'm smiling because I'm seeing maybe New Orleans isn't trying. They're going to take Zion out with 7 minutes left. Maybe, they don't want it as bad.
Yeah.
And so that's huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know to make too big of a deal about it because they have a really, really easy schedule coming up. Really, really, really easy. But it's definitely a character thing you got to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and I will actually give credit to the Jazz for this win, which is something I didn't think I was gonna say. But he did not have a good regular season at all. But Mike Conley actually stepped up, which is surprising.
He did.
He had 20 points. Oh, Jordan Clarkson off the bench is 23, which is very unexpected. I mean, I know he's been solid. He's been solid. I didn't expect him to drop 23.
He's a solid.
He did go 1 for 8 from 3, which is terrible. But
horrible. But he got to the line a lot.
Yeah. He was 6 or 7 from the free throw line, so I won't complain. And I guess this will go into talking about Rudy Gobert, which is surprising. The guy who ended the NBA season came back and did his thing.
Exactly.
So I know you're gonna for Gobert. So
I mean, it's just great. I felt a little bad for Rudy Gobert. I really did. Because, I love NBA Twitter, but there's times where they go touch too far. And I thought, even though he was a bad person for touching the mics and all
for sure.
And that was a horrible thing. I think there's jokes that go a little too far. But I was just shocked by the athleticism of him and Mitchell last night. I didn't know what to expect because we really don't know with this virus. We don't know what the recovery is. We don't know totally, the lasting after effects. But both of them were totally active on the court. Donovan Mitchell headed off that 11-1 run that really brought the Jazz close into that game. And Gobert, I mean, over the course, if you're watching the whole game, obviously that last shot was, probably his only real big highlight on the offensive end. Yeah. But on the defensive end, he was flying on the floor. He looked like normal Rudy Gobert getting block after block. And I think that is dangerous. And that shows this Utah team. And like you said, Mike Conley, this Jazz team lost Bojan Bogdanovic, which is a huge, huge
I stand by. I don't think I've ever said on this podcast, but I'm actually a really big fan of him. I don't know why.
Bogdanovic?
I have no idea why. I'm gonna be real, but he's one of those. He's just one. I really like. For some reason, I'm really a really big fan of shooters. Like that one. Remember that game winner at some point in the season? That was
the Houston one.
Yeah.
In between the two defenders.
Yeah. I just like. I'm not gonna go to the stretch to say he's a Peja, but he's one of those. Yeah. He's one of those just foreign shooters that just can get you shots, and then that oh, it's gonna make me sad, but this makes me miss Dario Saric so bad. Ursani is so.
No, we miss
Marco Bellinelli.
No. But Bojan was a huge loss for that Utah team. And for Mike Conley to step up into that third scorer role and like you said, live up to his contract to an extent. I mean, we all know he's not going to be the Mike Conley of 2014 of the grit and grind Grizzlies, but if he can be solid enough at creating for his teammates and, being a catch and shoot scorer, like that's really all this Jazz team needs. And I think, they can make some noise in these 8 games in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would be hesitant to say he is worth 27 million going 14-4 with like 40% from the field, but I don't know if
Bojan was dropping.
I don't expect this Jazz team to go far, but if they can like take a team to like 5 or I want 5 is very this is too nice. I'm gonna say like just like 6 games against like a higher seed, then I'll be satisfied because I mean this Western Conference is so tough. So
that's true. I could see them giving it to like OKC or a Houston though.
Yeah.
Especially Houston, simply off the matchups. I mean, Gobert against PJ Tucker.
So I mean, we're going to the Sixers. This has been a very peaceful couple of months without the Sixers, if I'm being real.
That is true.
Even though we've had to watch the Phillies, which we won't go into for personal reasons, but I don't know. This will be a closer game than I think because Domantas Sabonis, the sole All-Star for the Pacers, is out.
Yep.
They still have a lot of good players. Like I like Brogdon, I like T.J. Warren, I like Oladipo.
They're very deep.
I like Jeremy Lamb off the bench. Sixers legend T.J. McConnell off the bench.
Oh yeah.
The disrespected legend Goga Badazzi.
Yes.
So that press photo with Zion will go down in history for sure.
Yes.
If he becomes a good player though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if he actually sucks, then I'll just be like a meme.
But still,
I don't know. I think that Sabonis thing is actually like that big of a deal because I cannot imagine Al Horford clamping him on the defensive side.
No, I can't either. Even if he's coming off the bench, I can't.
Yeah. And another problem I have with the Pacers is everybody's like, "Oh, Oladipo's gonna be back." Like Oladipo's back, guys, and like.
Yep.
And then every time he's back, he just gets hurt again. So, I mean,
I'm scared of Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, I mean, I am a Victor Oladipo apologist when he is healthy. But when I say when he is healthy, that means he is not very consistent on being on the court. But if he is the Oladipo that we know, like the All-Star Victor Oladipo, then this could be a closer game than I think.
Definitely.
And I will say this outright. If Ben Simmons takes a 3, then we have a exponentially better chance of winning than if he doesn't.
I would say it goes up by 10 percentage points if Ben Simmons takes a 3.
Because this is all up to if Ben Simmons wants it or not. I'll be honest. But
Jamal
I mean,
had an interview.
Yeah.
And he said, if I came to this team and I asked the front office to build this team with shooters around me, and so I want to play with Ben Simmons for the rest of my career. He said those words. Yeah. I want to play with Ben Simmons for the rest of my career, but I want him to shoot the ball, and I am happy he is. Yeah, and so that's it. For him to space the floor, that's what you need.
Yeah, I mean the depth is still suspect, but I have confidence in Richardson and of course Matisse.
Mike Scott,
absolute legend.
Mike Scott.
Who else? I wouldn't even be surprised with Shake. I'm just gonna forget that you talked about Mike Scott, so we're just gonna keep going.
Whoa.
I mean, I kind of have a little bit of concerns with Jamal because his health is always up in the air. But
yeah,
if he goes back to 27 point a game, all NBA, Joel Embiid, then I think we could go on a run. But saying we'll go on a run is like Cowboys fans saying this is our year. Like Jesus Christ.
I mean, when I look at this game on paper,
it's a win.
It's a win. But watching the way the Sixers have played against the Pacers this season, you have to be worried about this game. And you have to consider that, they haven't been able to stop any of the forwards on the wing.
Yeah.
And I know they got bench depth, but guys like TJ Warren tore us up on New Year's Day and on the game after. And so it's worrisome. It really is. And I don't know what they're going to do about it. I think moving Ben Simmons forward will help, but I don't know. I don't know what Shake Milton's done. And I don't know if he can play D on Malcolm Brogdon. Shake Milton hasn't played in a big game yet. So it's
other than that one like career game where he got like a bunch of threes, but like that's it, to be honest.
The Clippers game?
Yeah, we're reaching at this point, but we really hope that the Sixers are back. We're never gonna say they're back because that will just disappoint us. But
we'll make that they're at 100%.
Yeah, we'll go into we put this episode out. We put our latest couple episodes out, and those were in production for like a week or two. And then as that happened, Jamal Adams got traded to the Seahawks. And I mean, honestly, that is a amazing thing for us as Eagles fans because I didn't expect Howie to pull the trigger, even though I wouldn't have minded it. But seeing what the Jets gave up and the fact that he didn't go to Dallas is perfectly fine with me.
Exactly. The tears of the Cowboys fans is something we feed off of. So to see that not occur is truly great for us. And I think he's a good fit in Seattle, honestly.
Yeah. I've always said that the one thing holding the Seahawks back is their defense, and especially the secondary. They don't have Quentin Dunbar because you know what happened with Quentin Dunbar.
Yeah.
And then they traded Bradley McDougald in that trade. Who's I think he has more picks in his career than Jamal, which is wild.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Jamal isn't really a picks guy. He's more of just
he's a hit guy. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm surprised the Jets actually got a great return for Jamal because
I am too. Credit to Joe Douglas. Credit to Eagles legend Joe Douglas. Really. To get that much value for a guy who was going to already have to be traded.
Yeah, quality safety.
Yeah.
And then 2 first-round picks. I think a 4th is something Howie Roseman would have never done, obviously.
Well, yeah, but
I think Jerry Jones would have done that. He would have given up
probably.
Who are their safeties? It's Xavier Woods. He's decent.
Xavier Woods, okay.
And they could just trade him and like a couple. I'm surprised. Yeah, like the market for.
They have picks.
Yeah. The market is just so skewed right now because it's either 2 firsts for Jamal, 2 firsts for Jalen Ramsey, 2 firsts for Khalil Mack, and then like. No, that was one. Yeah, and like 1 first for Amari.
Yup.
2 firsts for Larry Tunsil, which is wild. But
he was a top 100 player though. But they think he's. I mean, he has his moments. He does have his moments. But that definitely makes that Seahawks teams better. I honestly think, and I mean, it definitely also makes Jadeveon Clowney, wide open for anyone at this point. And as we talked about, I think it was now 2 episodes ago. That's kind of crazy. That could be an option for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah.
That'll be a logistical nightmare, but
it would.
There's not been an elite linebacker for the Eagles in about 5 years. You could make an argument for like D'Amico Ryans, but like, good lord, you gotta go back a long time. Nigel Bradham.
This organization doesn't value.
They do not value linebackers at all.
But who knows, really? I mean, if he wants to come here on a cheap deal, I don't know how Howie Roseman can say no with the production he's
I would take him. And I know I mean, I could see him go to Tennessee or like I think New Orleans was another team because
Really?
Michael Thomas tweeting out about it. But they did
New
get
Orleans.
Nigel Bradham, which is wild.
They did get Nigel Bradham, I know.
Even
Super Bowl
though
legend Nigel
we
Bradham.
literally released him, so it's not like not like we wanted him. So
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, he had a good run.
yeah.
Good run.
If they play Clowney off the edge more than as like an extra linebacker, then I won't mind it because
Yeah.
the Jim Schwartz scheme is just does not value coverage at all. Look
No.
at the Minnesota game last year for example. Uh,
for a little reference.
yeah, but I think this team has got if they even get, I think with or without Clowney, they're still a lot better because they address the
I
secondary, which is something we've been complaining about since before the Super Bowl year.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
I think Darius Slay is probably the best corner we've had since. I would say, I
Tommy
wouldn't go.
Asamoah.
I was gonna say like Asante Samuel, but it's kind of too far. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I like this defense though, and I think
Yeah,
one more piece, even though
yeah,
I think the real position where you need it is on the offensive line,
yeah,
one more piece on that defense could push it to, I don't know, competing with a San Francisco.
yeah.
To be real.
Let's just hope to God that the Cowboys pull the same nonsense they did last year, and then we'll all be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's all we need. That's all.
We need one of the other teams in the division just to play spoiler, like the Giants or the team that we'll talk about in the next segment, which will be recorded
Exactly.
in like a little bit. But the Washington football team will have a
Football team.
special guest in a little bit. So I don't know why I'm saying that right now
Should we
because
lead right into that?
yeah, I guess we'll lead into it. But like we got like you'll hear like a very obvious cut, but we're gonna talk about the legendary team without a name in like 2 seconds. So here we go.
Woo!